Setbacks. If you've just had one, you're probably feeling deflated right now. Maybe even wondering if it's worth all the time and effort you've put into what you're doing. Here's the deal with setbacks. They're part of living and growing. And if you never experience one, then you may not be pursuing anything worthwhile. At the time, it's painful, and it might feel devastating. Then a week, a month, a year later, life rights itself. You finish a project or gain something you've been working towards. You experience that moment of being on top of the world, and it's intoxicating. Spencer Johnson calls these moments peaks and valleys, and wrote a book of that name. Every major philosopher and spiritual leader, every therapist and coach spends most of their time guiding others through peaks and valleys of life, because they are unavoidable. To understand this, think for a moment of the straight line. It's what you see when a person's heart stops. What it represents is death, not life. Life is change. And change is a natural process, a natural wave. Every wave movement has a peak and a valley. This isn't simply a metaphor, because when you reduce anything to its basic form, what it is a form of energy. That includes us. We are basically energy, and whatever we do is energy. And as such, there will be high and low energy, wins and losses, trials and triumphs. It helps me to remember this, and to also remember that we as human beings need to try things out, sometimes several times, before we succeed in getting what we desire. When I think of valleys like this, then I can see them as fertile ground, places where I have a chance to discover or birth something new out of the ashes of something else that crashed and burned. We rarely seek help when we're on a peak. So here's some tips for the next time you find yourself in a valley. Take a moment. The first thing I'm tempted to do when I have a setback is immediately move towards trying to fix it. But whenever I do this, I miss out. I miss out on feeling and acknowledging the pain of the loss, and then truly letting it go. And that means it lingers. Even though I feel like I'm making progress and not letting this setback get in my way, it actually is, because I'm dragging along unfinished business. Adjust your attitude about setbacks. If they're natural and to be expected, that means they're actually a part of the eventual triumph. If what I strive for, what gives meaning to my life, were easy, then it wouldn't be worth much. And the more it's worth to me, the bigger the challenge. And the bigger the challenge, the bigger the chance of experiencing a setback. So the real choice is either play it safe and never challenge myself, or take a risk and experience failure. Don't give up. It's like learning to ride a bike. I remember learning to ride a bike. It was my great aunt's bike. I was around 12, and my cousin Beverly volunteered to teach me. You know the drill. I'd get going, then wobble and fall. Then with her insistence, I'd get back on and eventually wobble and fall. Finally, she said she'd keep her hand on the seat so I wouldn't wobble, and she did for a few seconds, and then I was on my own, soaring. It ends. It's a wave, not a straight line. And after a valley comes a peak. Just wait for it. Anything worthwhile, learning a new skill, gaining recognition in your field, building a meaningful relationship, takes time, patience, tenacity, and the wisdom of hanging in there until the magic happens. If you want more inspiration on a weekly basis, subscribe to my newsletter.